Hello, everybody. Long time no see. I've really hated not meeting on Wednesday nights and doing our Bible study, and it dawned on me that I could make a video about a couple of things that we won't be actually delving into the scriptures about necessarily, but they do make up a part of Ruth, the Book of Ruth, and this shouldn't take too long. I'm hoping we can meet together soon. I just need to see how things go. And, but just know I have been praying over you guys, praying for you. And I really miss hanging out in our class. I love our class interactions. But okay. So let me share with you a few things. I may have to put on my reading glasses. I don't know. All right. But there have been some archaeological how do you say that? There has been evidence found by archaeologists. I still have COVID brain. So anyway, we found there artifacts have been found that are not of the Hebrew culture, and I guess we could call them external sources. They're not anything of the Bible, but they were from the time periods of those, and they confirm what we already know from the Bible. I believe the Bible is true without a doubt, but I like having these finds in archaeology, because I always think about what if I didn't believe in the Bible, because so many people don't. I would like to know that there's something I can point them to that validates the Bible in their mind and their eyes. Like I said, I believe the Bible is true, 100% true. And here it is, the Moabite stone. It's also known as no, I'm probably mispronouncing it. Misha steel. Anyway, so you can see I think they said it's about 4 feet tall. It's been through a lot, as you can tell. And this is just a really neat find. So remember that Ruth is from the country of Moab. I remember we say country of Moab, ancient country or ancient Moab, because for those of us around here, we're going to be thinking about Moab, Utah, where we go and have fun. But anyway, so remember that Ruth was a Moabitess she was from Moab. And so remember how we talked about that her culture did not worship the God of the Bible and worshiped the god Chemosh. I don't know how to say that. Chemosh. It's basically Moloch, basically fake god, right? Okay. And this was a pretty terrifying god to serve. Sacrifices were required, and I'm referring to the humankind, and everything that that God never wanted people to do. Anyway, so there was a king of the Moabites. His name was King Misha, which Misha Steel. And they think that he had this inscribed on the stone. There is quite a bit of writing on it, and it's all inscribed. I think probably around 840 BC or BCE, if some people call it now. Well, he was the king, and on this inscription, he's giving honor and praise to the god Chemosh, or Shemosh. I don't know how to say it. And basically, what had been going on is the Israelites actually were more powerful than the Moabites, and they actually had the Moabites under subjection. They were subjects of Israel. And so King Misha is writing on this stone how the people had angered their God. The Moabites had angered their God, and he allowed them to be overtaken by the Israelites. And that's why they were having hard times and things. But then, according to this stone that King Misha made, their God returned and I guess they found favor in his eyes, and he helped King Misha overthrow the Israelites. And so they no longer had a hold on them, and the Moabites were free. Um, by the way, that's not true. That didn't happen. But anyway, some say it was written in Phoenician. Some say it was written in the Old Hebrew, which those are very closely related, apparently. Now, remember, the cultures are related by blood, because remember, the Moabites came from, that. Lot and his daughter, yeah, yuck. So, anyway, but then this was discovered in the year 1848 in August by a missionary, an Anglican missionary, Frederick Augustus Klein, and it had been destroyed before. The Moabites were fighting over something. I didn't really read a whole bunch about that, and they smashed it up some, but I guess somebody put it back together. And it's located now in what we know as the country of Jordan. But why is this a big deal? Well, this is the early, as far as we know, as far as we've discovered, this is the earliest mention of God, the God of the Israelites, Creator God, outside of the Bible. And the biblical account is actually in 2 Kings, chapter 3, verses 4a. And they didn't overthrow the Israelites. That's not what happened. But in the Middle East culture, still to this day, you can find that they will honor certain events in their history from a different perspective than how it really happened. My hubby, when he was in Iraq, he visited Saddam Hussein's palace called Victory Over America. Yeah, when did that happen? No, it didn't. So, but we all remember history from our own personal perspective, but this is not what happened. What happened on the Misha Stone is not what happened on the Moab Stone. If you go into the Bible, it tells you what happened in 2 Kings. Obviously, he's not going to want to put up a monument. I mean, it wasn't super huge, but he was not going to put up a monument to say, hey, I wasn't successful. But anyway, now let's move on to the law of gleaning, because as you know, we're going to be talking about gleaning when we move forward in the Book of Ruth, because we all know that she was out there gleaning, and that's how Boaz caught her eye. She caught Boaz's eye, I should say. So just to be very basic, glean just means to gather the grain, the harvest, or other produce that's left behind in the field after the workers have harvested. So this is actually a biblical concept that God instilled as a welfare system of sorts. And so this had been around for some time, because he tells us about it in Leviticus and in Deuteronomy. What this also shows me that Boaz was a godly man and followed God's law. Maybe everybody did this way. I don't know. Remember, we talked about earlier, they weren't supposed to have any dealings with the Moabites, and Naomi's husband chose to ignore that. So this just solidifies to me that Boaz was a really cool guy, right? Well, when harvesting, the workers were instructed by God himself in the Word that they were not to go over the fields twice. So if you didn't give her everything, you didn't get everything the first time. That's just difficult anyway. So you couldn't go over the fields twice to pick up the harvest, because purposely there's supposed to be some left behind, so that others, the poor, widows, orphans, strangers in the land who had no inheritance, no land to work, they could come and gather, and then they would have a means to eat. Now, they had to go out and do the gathering, though. It wasn't gathered for them. and brought to them. I'm sure there were circumstances where it was done that way. Maybe if someone was non-ambulatory, they couldn't move, they couldn't walk very well, probably a friend would go get some for them and bring it to them. But my point is this: they had to work to benefit from this welfare system. And they had to go out and do it. They had to go out and glean it. Well, Naomi is kind of elderly now. Now, I'm not sure if she's elderly in the sense that we think of when we say elderly, because we with medicine and nutrition and things, we kind of live long now. And I'm not real sure what the lifespan was back in that day. It wasn't as long as, Noah and his ancestors. Woo, they lived a long time. But anyway, Naomi's not going to be able to go out and do this, and Ruth does it for her. Again, a very indicative feature. It's so showing that Ruth is not a self-centered person and just really wants to make sure Naomi is cared for before her own status, before her own things. She's wanting to make sure that Naomi is cared for, and what an awesome example. And so this was a really nice setup, and you're going to see later when we get in a little further in the chapter that Boaz actually instructs his workers to leave a little more behind on purpose. Now in Leviticus, and when it talks about where I said that God told us to do this, I told them to do this in Leviticus 19, 9 through 10. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest. And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt leave them for the poor and stranger. I am the Lord your God. I'm wondering, personally, it says stranger, If we look back, maybe the reason why Boaz is so good to follow this is maybe because he heard the tales of when his mom, remember who his mom is? Rahab. When his mom was a stranger and trusting the God of the Israelites over just because she had heard such mighty things that she hides the spies, and they come back and she and her family are the only ones rescued out of that. And so for a while there, she would have been the stranger amongst the Israelites. Maybe Boaz had a little more compassion for the strangers, and maybe that's why, maybe this is all my just thinking, not anything that I've found in scriptures. Maybe this is why Ruth caught his eye. Maybe it is, not. She wasn't doing this because this was how she was raised in the culture, that you take care of your mother-in-law, that you really she had no legal obligation, but morally she loved her and didn't want her to be on her own, and wanted to make sure that she was provided for. In Leviticus, in Deuteronomy, it just says, when thou cuttest down thine harvest in thine field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hands. So obviously Boaz had instructed his workers to always follow these commands. I personally think that obedience is one of the reasons why the Lord gave Boaz some wealth. I mean, he wasn't poor by any means. So I just think it's really neat to see a telling, kind of some, get a little bit of the characters and just see some of this extra stuff here. Like I said, all my thoughts about Boaz and Rahab and everything, that's just some posing on my part. Anyway, I hope that we can eventually get back to meeting in the classroom. So until then, though, let's be faithful to pray for one another. And if it comes to it, I will make videos that we put. It's not as much fun. I really, really prefer to have the interaction with you guys. I hope everyone is doing well. Please stay healthy. Take care.